So, again, since you guys already kind of have been in this situation before, I'll save you guys the whole spiel. This was our opening question. What experience do you have in speech and debate? It's kind of why I asked you guys, just to kind of gauge if you guys have any competitive experience, which the answer to that appears to be no, which is totally fine. It's just seeing where we are. This is just for you guys to get to know us. Me, Iman, Safika, and Nikita were all mentors during the summer, but since the summer has ended, we've added 2 new mentors to our team, at least for these workshops, Avery and Isabel. And they have their cameras on so you guys can see them. If you guys want to introduce yourselves real quick.
So my name is Avery Moriyasu, and I went to Knox. So, yeah.
And how do you have experience in speech, Avery?
So for 7th and 8th grade, I was in the debate class. So I did debate for 2 years.
Hello, my name is Teach2Learn. I'm currently a 9th grader going to the academy at College Park High School. I've had since 6th grade, I've been part of a public speaking club outside of this one. So I guess you can say that is my experience with public speaking and debate. So, it's nice to meet you all.
All right. And again, you guys have kind of seen this before, but this is something that we continually emphasize, right? Is that Teach2Learn, we place a lot of stress on just helping you guys find, like, not necessarily everything you need to know about a topic, but specifically whether or not you're interested in that topic. And in this case, whether or not you're actually interested in speech and debate. And then if you are, how can we help can you get better on your own? So to give you guys a rundown of kind of our plan for this workshop. So today we'll be doing some impromptu speaking, and we'll also be doing that in the future, which you guys are already familiar with. We'll talk about current affairs again. We'll revisit that, and then we're actually going to go into more debate. So that's kind of where it splits off from what you guys are used to. We're going to actually go into more competitive debate forms, and like all the different in-depth components of that. And then after that, we'll specifically go into a format called Lincoln Douglas debate.
Okay. So what we're going to do today, we're going to talk about why speech and debate, components of a speech, devices. This is just like a run over since you all have already seen this. And then we'll go into the activity. And then the closing.
Yeah, and this will be at a faster pace than what we did in the summer, which is actually going to be a good thing here. So it can serve as a good refresher for you guys.
Okay, so why speech and debate? Speech is an extremely powerful tool. It's used by anyone, really, besides leaders, to motivate change. As you all saw in the summer workshop as well, you used it to speak about various topics, not just about like your hobbies, but also about certain things that are happening in the world. And it helps people around you to be... The things we teach you in the workshop will make people listen to you more. And also, it's applicable to all sorts of jobs and fields, even ones where you don't believe that it goes into.
Right. So even if you, say, are actually more interested in, say, computer science or space science or entrepreneurship or the medical field, all these different things, being good at public speaking and understanding what makes a good speech or what makes a good presentation can help you in all of those fields in completely different ways. So even if you end up not falling in love or whatever with the act itself, hopefully you guys will be able to see the value in adding just the skill to help you in whatever you pursue in the future. And again, you guys have already kind of done this activity before, where we talked about, I've forgotten at this point, so you're free to remind us what field or job you want to go into when you grow up, and thinking about, okay, how can public speaking contribute to like potential success in that field? How can public speaking, even if the job I want to do in the future or the career I want to have in the future doesn't necessarily directly involve public speaking, how can it still help me?
And feel free
And
to
you guys,
unmute yourselves.
yeah, you guys can unmute or you can type. Either one is fine.
They're typing.
Yeah, and I think the mentors, we can also kind of talk about like
Sure.
what we're interested in, and then and how that, like, how public speaking helps us. So for me personally, like, um I haven't 100% decided yet, but one strong potential career path that I'm looking into is business. So obviously, like skill in public speaking would help me a lot for presentations, important meetings, pitches, if that were something that I would specifically be doing. Like it would tie in with business very closely.
And to give another example, as for me, when a certain field I want to do when I grow up is around the financial area, particularly either a professor or an advisor, which is why public speaking would be extremely ideal to help me get my point across and help even the people who have no idea what finance is understand what I'm trying to say. So I guess you can say even in so many different fields, public speaking can come down to the simplest things such as holding a conversation or a meeting in a business environment.
Right.
And you guys are saying so computer science or generally like science, aviation, related to the brain, so psychology and neuroscience. It's a lot of like STEM area here. So you guys are saying like, yeah, interviews definitely, meetings definitely, speeches if you end up giving those, like regular conversation. Those are all true. But I do want to open one more thought to you guys, especially since you guys are in STEM, or interested in STEM, is that there's also the side of this is a bit of a science fair thing, but the scientific method, right? You guys are all familiar with the scientific method. And the last part of the scientific method is to communicate your results, right? And that probably for you guys brings up images of, oh, I have to make the trifold and present it in the convention center or whatever. But that's not in the actual field of science or even computer science. When you have a new finding or you develop a new innovation, you're going to have to present and explain that finding or innovation to other people in some kind of presentation. And that's not going to necessarily be a trifold in the future, but it will be a prepared presentation of some kind, even if it's in writing. Even if it's in writing, public speaking can still carry over by making you a better communicator. So people that are in different STEM fields actually have to have a lot better communication skills than most people would expect. And the same thing with computer science. An important part of computer science is collaboration and documentation because you have to work with other people um, on large projects if you want to do a large project. And in order to make sure that the intention, like different things don't get lost, different information doesn't get lost, you have to be able to communicate effectively with each other.
Yeah. And I just wanted to add on to something about the science fair. In science fair, when you think about it, science fair, even though you have a tri-board, I'd like to advise you guys, don't come up with what you're going to say the night before. Because while yes, communication is important, it takes time. For example, science fair, sometimes you would want to go more into why you did the project. So just like a warning of sorts, don't only read off your tri-board when you communicate or like a presentation. This is not only for science fair, but in general. Also add in some extra parts because it could draw in your audience with some new information they couldn't tell from whatever graphic visual you have. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's just strengthening those different components, those different elements. Okay. You guys have seen this video before. For the most, I believe, yes. Okay. So you guys recall that we talked about devices before, right? And this is a reminder about devices. So what in the terms of speech, what is a device, right? A device, to remind you guys, I mean, I'm trying to keep this brief, is, one of those little tools or those little things that you pull out in a speech to make it stronger or more effective, right? So reminding you guys the anecdote and the call to action. The anecdote, a little personal story that you use as evidence to support whatever you're trying to tell people. Or your call to action, your concluding statement that tells someone to do something, that tells someone to, buy this new product or try this new activity. Um, all these different things. And I'm trying to go a bit faster than I normally would, so you guys don't get bored by like hearing stuff you already know, but just let me know like if you have any questions. But you guys should hopefully already remember at least decently these two devices, and hopefully even some of the other ones that we talked about, like rhetorical questions and stuff like that.
Okay, so this is just a recap of what we went over as before. So you have the introduction, 3 points, and conclusion. And I'm just gonna give a small speech of what this would look like. So you would say, give me 1 second.
Yeah, so we're jumping straight into impromptu speaking, which you guys are again familiar with the whole format of preparing a quick speech in say 5 minutes and end up giving like a 2 to 3 minute speech about a certain topic. So we're returning back to that favorite hobby topic, because again it's one that's like you guys all have an answer of have a hobby of some sort that you can talk about, and remembering that when we create a speech on the fly, it can be kind of hard to like immediately think of stuff. But if you start out from the beginning with a deliberate structure, your intro, your 3 points to back up your hobby, like your 3 points as to why that's your favorite hobby, and then your conclusion, then as long as you fill in all those check boxes, you suddenly have a complete speech in a very short amount of time.
Right. Okay, so I guess a small speech I can give here is my favorite hobby is Netflix, and I would just introduce what Netflix is. So Netflix is like where you can watch all these movies and shows. I really like this, and it's my favorite hobby because it's relaxing, it calms me, and it's something I can do in my free time. Then I would elaborate about how we don't get a lot of free time, so when we do, it's nice to actually like sit down and watch something that you enjoy. And then at the end, I would have a call to action where I encourage you, like, hey, buy Netflix. This is not an ad, but it's something that I really enjoy, so I recommend you buy it as well.
Yeah, and then obviously in actual speech, you would take that a bit slower. You would try to be a bit more conversational, explain a bit more like how, for example, Netflix helps you by giving some examples. But that's just the general flow of it, right? You would start out by answering the prompt essentially, and then you explain your answer to that prompt, and then you kind of wrap it all up and say, okay, this is what I talked about, and I would suggest also participating in this activity because of these reasons.
And I just wanted to add about the introduction.
Oh, sorry.
So about the introduction, something that it's a really important part of a speech because that's what actually gets your audience interested into it. So if you hear something boring, like today I'm going to tell you about quantum physics. No offense to those who love quantum physics, but you want something to draw them in, make them excited, want them to listen more to what you got to say. If you fail at that part, it's going to be hard to draw them in later on to your speech and actually listen to what you have, to whatever your topic is.
Yeah, I agree with Isabel. Like personally, when I do like impromptu tournaments, I usually start off with like some usually like a metaphor or something. So if it's about how life can be bad, but it can get good. I usually like bring up like the metaphor of like a tunnel, right? So maybe dark, but at the end of the tunnel, there's like the light or whatever. There's like the treasure at the end of the journey.
Yeah, or you could you could start out with like a interesting metaphor, or you could start out with a rhetorical question. Like, and that's also something that you see a lot in advertising too. It's like, have you ever tried this, or do you want a way to relax, like after school or something like that? Something that, considering who's listening, which at this point would be all of us, junior high and high school students, what questions do you think would immediately capture our attention and make us more interested in what you have to say? All right. So, sorry, I'm just gonna mute that if that's okay, because the feedback is kind of loud. But we're gonna do the what is your favorite hobby prompt. And this will actually be a good way to see how much you guys have improved since the summer. Since the beginning of the summer, I mean. Since it's like essentially the same prompt as you guys had in that first or second workshop in the summer. So you'll want to open up a doc, or get a piece of scratch paper to write your outline on, and we're gonna give you guys 5 minutes to prepare a speech for this prompt. And the goal, it's not a cutoff, but the goal is to present hopefully around 2 to 3 minutes. And you're gonna try to, what I would recommend is try to follow the outline and use as many devices as you can, right? So in order to set up your outline, immediately write intro, and then your 3 points, and then your conclusion. Don't worry about roadmap and recap if you don't remember what those are. But if you do remember what those are, I would also, which is just like telling us what your points are in a brief sentence or two, and the recap is telling us what your points are, but like after you talk about them. But the main thing is to write down your intro, write down your 3 points, and write down your conclusion, and make sure you check um, while trying to come up with interesting ways to present those.
And if it happens when we're presenting, if someone has the same hobby as yours or talks about it, don't worry about it. I guess this is more focusing on, can you use devices in your speech rather than having each of us having a different hobby. I just wanted to put that out.
And again,
and even at like real tournaments.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Avery.
Sorry, okay. So even at real tournaments, so you'll get like usually like a quote or whatever, and sometimes you'll get the same quote as someone else. So it's not necessarily dependent. It's more the quality of your speech than did you do the same thing as someone else.
Yeah, and one more thing. I've kind of gone through this assuming that you four remember at least decently well what we did during the summer. Which is why I've kind of gone a bit quick over like certain things like the outline and like the devices. So if you guys have any questions, or if you need like a reminder, like, okay, what are some other devices that I can use, or remind me what a roadmap is again, don't hesitate to ask, because we want you guys to like be able to put out the best speech you can. That being said, oops, that's not, we don't have so do you guys all have, go ahead and you guys all get out some kind of doc or paper to do your outline on, and I'm just gonna set a timer for 5 minutes, and you guys just go ahead and start creating your speeches. And again, just like unmute or type if there's a problem. Okay, are we all good? You give me like a thumbs up in the chat, or say something if you're good on that. All 4 of you are good? I see 2.
Let's see. So what you guys are what the speech is about is your favorite hobby, pretty much. If I'm thinking that you're on
So,
this,
yeah, I'm going to start a timer in 3, 2, 1, go. So just quickly get your outline down and then start kind of filling in those spots while trying to think of interesting ways to begin and end. And
real fast, the Braxton. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Are you on the screen? Are you seeing the screen or?
yeah, so
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because I couldn't see you for spectators. So
yeah, and a couple other tips, make sure you're supporting like you're supporting your points with examples and details. So you're not just saying a sentence like, my hobby helps me relax and then going straight to the next point. You would want to say, my hobby helps me relax, and then tell some kind of story maybe, or give like a more specific example of one time that your hobby helped you relax, if that makes sense. It's a lot to think about, so really you guys should just do your best and try to recall as much as you can. And we're just here to help you guys.
I'm actually going to write a speech about my favorite hobby as well. Just feel more comfortable.
Sure.
Same here. It's been so long. I need to practice more.
The timer's down to 3:30 if I just start now. Oh gosh.
Okay. On the fly.
It's fine. I'm just gonna practice on my older ones.
There's 1 minute and 10 seconds left on the clock, by the way.
Yeah, Emily, can you open up a pros and cons Google Docs so we can start writing that?
Yeah, of course. Okay. That's the 5-minute timer. Do any of you guys need more time?
Y'all can type in the chat if you do. Okay.
Maybe another minute or two. Okay, since the mentors all kind of hopped in as well, I'm gonna add 1 more minute to the clock. But if you guys still aren't done by at the end of that minute, you're just gonna have to go with whatever you got. All right. So I'll put 1 more minute on now.
And also sometimes like even in real like impromptu, sometimes you don't think of everything and you just have to like do it on the spot. Like
Yep.
I'll just think of examples straight up there. So
Fake it till you make it. That's the mindset sometimes is impromptu speaking.
True.
It gets you through most of the time.
All right, the minute is up. So even if you're not done, just go with what you've got. Try to just push through to the end. Even come up with something on the spot if you need to. Since the mentors are also kind of participating, what we'll do is we won't we'll have a mentor go first. Is so hopefully that will make you guys more comfortable. So which one of you guys wants to go?
I can go.
I'll go if no one else wants to.
Go for it.
Okay. So all throughout life, we're constantly going through ups and downs. Light at the end, there's constant darkness, but with that, there's also light. And friends, and that light is friendship. Friends help us get throughout life and bring many great things. Because I believe in the idea of friendship. My favorite hobby is talking to friends. So to explain why I think that talking to friends is the best hobby, I'll go over 3 points. Firstly, what is friendship and how does it help us? Secondly, how does friendship help us in our daily lives? And third and finally, how has friendship helped the real world all throughout history? So on to my first point. What is friendship and how does it help us? So friends make the journey of life all that much easier. Because whether you're going through good times or bad times, they will help you. Whether it's a bad breakup or a fun time at the beach, friends make that experience so much better. Because they're just someone to talk to, someone to mess around with. And you can truly be yourself with friends because they help amplify who you already are. So who you hang around with also impacts who you are. So if you have all these amazing friends who constantly work hard, they will leave impacts on you, which helps you in the future. So on to my second point, how has it helped me in my daily life? So as I went to Knox, I didn't know many McCullough kids. So I went to this thing called the Leadership Academy, and I made a couple friends there because I needed to make new friends. So even though I only talked to 2 people, that eventually led to me meeting a lot more of the kids from McCullough because as I talked to them, I talked to even more people. So through talking to some people, you make lots of connections, and those connections, they can either help you just in having more fun, but they can also help you in the real world, as in business, whatever you want to go into. They can help make more connections for the real world. And third and finally, for how friends help throughout history. People like during this American Revolution, lots of the generals, they not only were they leaders, but they were also friends with each other. And because they all wanted to have freedom, they all wanted to be their true selves, they fought for their independence. And that friendship, that hope brought where we live right now. We live in America where we're actually free, and their courage and friendship and bravery help us be who we are today. So to sum up my speech, friendship is the best hobby because it brings so many good things, not to just regular people, but also all throughout history. Friendship has helped us be who we are today. So be true to yourself and be nice to your friends. Thank you.
Nice. That was like a classic, like impromptu. You. uh,
I thought
yeah,
you had
and
like a whole week to prepare, and then
I've seen the
and
discussion, Braxton's reaction, and yeah. So Avery is, out of all of us here, has probably the most recent, like both the most in volume and the most recent competitive impromptu speaking experience, which is why he was able to kind of just pull that out in like 4 or 5 minutes, right? But the attitude we don't want you guys to have the attitude of, oh, because he's put so much effort and he's been doing this for so long, he's like so good, I can never do that kind of thing. Think about, what did you like about his speech? So I'm going to ask you guys, what did you guys like about Avery's speech? And even if you guys are feeling brave, also maybe there's some things that you think he could have done better. Even then, obviously, especially in impromptu, it's never going to be perfect because it's on the spot. Oh, unlucky Braxton.
Also, you can feel free to like actually talk, since part of speech and debate is just talking to others. So
yeah,
if you
usually
feel
we would
like
have you guys mute, but since there's so few of you guys can unmute and just talk. It's probably faster that way as well.
yes.
Oh yeah, Sofika, sorry. I ended up muting you earlier because there's so much feedback coming from your mic.
I mean, just to maybe start the discussion.
Yeah, so it doesn't have to be like
voice.
A negative.
Maybe.
It can be a positive thing. Like, what a specific thing that you liked about Avery's speech.
Yeah, and so something I just wanted to point out for whenever you evaluate the club I am, what they do is you give a speech and then you have someone evaluate that speech. So a technique that we would use sometimes is we would give them one positive thing and would give them one thing they can improve on, and you can give them something else that you really liked about their speech in the end. Typically, it's like 2 to 3 minutes, but here you can do more condensed version. Like, for example, Avery's speech. Avery, I really liked your beginning. It made me interested. Maybe for something you can improve is not listing out that it's going to be 3 points, but instead smoothly transitioning between the points, that it seems like a normal conversation. And then to wrap it up, something more positive like, oh, I really like the examples you used and the history examples. I never really thought of it that way. The fact that friendship helped us get the freedom we have right now. That's just an idea of how you can do it.
Yeah. So
yeah, I agree.
I definitely want to draw attention to those transitions. You guys notice that when someone has a very clear transitions in their speech, they're very clear cut. You always know where they are, and that's super helpful. Not only for the audience to figure out, okay, this is where this person is, I can totally follow along with everything they're saying, but also for yourself. It also helps you understand, looking at your outline, okay, this is the part I'm on, and this is the part I'm going to have to do. I'm going to say next. So transitions are very powerful device. Let's see. What's our time look like? Let's have a student go next, if that's all right with y'all. I think because if we just have all the mentors talk, then we might be here for a while. So
wait, Emily, do you think if it was one-on-one, do you think it would help them feel more comfortable?
What do you guys think? Do you guys want to be more? Do you guys want to be together, or do you guys want to be one-on-one with us? What do the other two have to say? You're saying being together would help you build confidence? You guys are good? Okay. So how about one of you just go for it. Like, no one's gonna judge you. I mean, we've all been in the same boat. Or if none of you step forward, I'm probably just gonna end up picking someone random.
I'll do it.
Go for it.
Okay. In 2019, the Boy Scouts of America dropped the boy and let in girls. So now my favorite hobby is Scouts. My first point is that it helped me have fun and make friends. I gained so many friends and had tons of different experiences. One experience happened last month that I guarantee I'm never going to forget. After me and my friend's canoe flipped and is escaping down the river after we got hit by another tree, which caused us to let go. And then later that night, we're laying under the stars without a tent because all of our stuff is wet. We learned some valuable experiences, especially to put your stuff in dry bags and Ziploc bags within those. Which brings me to my next point. A huge thing I've learned is leadership. Every 6 months, the group votes on the different jobs, and I recently got elected as patrol leader. And I am learning how to lead my patrol and help everyone advance and have a fun time. This includes planning activities that we do at the meetings and planning some of the campouts. I've learned that communication is key when leading. Finally, I've experienced so many different skills and activities. I've learned first aid, nature identification, and knots, and much more. There's something for everyone. If you don't like camping, there are other things. I even got to try shooting a rifle last month. And next week, I'm doing shotgun shooting. All in all, Scouts has helped me have fun and have some crazy fun experiences. I will never forget the skills and experience I have learned.
Nice. All right.
That was really good.
Awesome.
Yeah, I like. Okay.
Emily,
and
you
here-
want to say something or me?
no. Here's what I'm gonna do. Ignore all my other tabs. Ignore nothing. You don't see anything. But I'm gonna open. What I like. We're gonna go around and kind of do a list. That's numbers. Things you did well. How do I put this? I'm just gonna put things you did well. And then things to improve. So we're just gonna kind of, I guess, go around and give our own 2 cents on things that you did well and things that you can improve on. And that way you'll be able to like see here, okay, these are things I want to be thinking about next time. And how can I improve and do even better next time? Because that was actually really good. So, let's see. I guess I'll just go first. So I definitely really liked your use of anecdotes, right? You can, what some people will do is that they'll just make super like general statements, right? They'll just say like, oh, Scouts just helped me with all these things, and I'm super grateful that I was able to get all the experiences that I did. And then they just leave it there, right? But then you went a step further and said, for example, this is a specific thing. This is a specific story that happens to me. Or for example, this is a specific skill that I learned. And those things, not only do they just help you lengthen your speech and have more general content and substance, but it makes your points more persuasive to me. By hearing those specific examples, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes total sense. I can totally see all these reasons why someone should join Scouts. I wrote approve instead of improve. And then something to improve. I think this was just nerves, but you did trip over your words a couple of times. And when you're starting out, the best way, for at least in my experience, to avoid that is just to speak a little bit slower. If you spoke a little bit slower, like it can feel weird because you'd be speaking slower than you normally would in conversation. But if you just speak a little bit slower, no one's gonna notice, and it's gonna make you seem more confident because you're gonna have more time to think about what you're gonna say next. So just something over try. Okay. Does anyone else? Do any other mentors want to say stuff?
Okay, so
Sure, I can go. Oh,
you can go first.
okay, thank you. Well, I mean, I guess Emily already took all the points I was going to say, but mostly I just wanted to add on. I want to add on to it. I really did like, the humorous anecdote about the Girl Scouts, how all your supplies got wet and you learned a valuable lesson. I guess you can say using those anecdotes makes you look more human to the audience, which is why, as Emily said, it makes you seem more persuasive because it may not be relatable to everyone, but it can be a feeling people can understand in a way. As for something you can improve is, as Emily said, I guess with more practice, it comes with less stumbling across on your words. And I mean, there's nothing more I can add. Emily already said it all, I guess. And something else I wanted to add that I really liked is your transitions across each point. I really liked how you said, oh, my next point in a way, or first off. In addition, I really liked how you kind of wrapped it all up in the ending without making it seem boring or incomplete, which is a great thing you did for your speech. And I really enjoy listening to it. I look forward to your next speeches.
So it's kind of similar, but I liked your examples because they were intriguing. So doing things like canoeing and like how you tipped over or using shotgun shooting, it kind of intrigues you. So it makes you want to listen instead of just saying I did fun things. Because so it's kind of like what they said. And then I think what you can do better on is kind of at the start, like giving more of a roadmap of what you're planning to do in the speech. And I didn't do my roadmap that well personally, but like you can, sometimes it's easier to just like, sometimes people, when they do the roadmaps, it just like is very natural and it doesn't feel like a speech. It just feels like they're talking to you. So maybe I'm not personally the best at my roadmap, but some of the other mentors might be.
Yeah, when I was competing, we used to spend a lot of time trying to make our roadmaps more natural. But for a start, don't worry about that right now. Next time you can say, right after your intro, today I'll be talking about 3 reasons why Scouts has helped me or why Scouts is my favorite hobby, and then just list them off. And that way it's a bit more, the audience is already prepared to they already kind of know what you're going to talk about, and that way they're going to be able to follow along even better.
Mm-hmm. And it can buy you some time to think better on, for examples.
Yeah.
And organize your thought.
All right.
Just something to keep in mind.
For the sake of time, let's try to go a bit quicker. We spent a lot of time, I think, talking there. And let's go for one of the other 2 students. So
if you want to go, just unmute and say you want to go.
Yeah.
I'll go.
All right.
Start whenever you want to.
Okay.
Yep.
So when I was younger, I did this thing that basically shaped the way I thought about many things. And that thing is drawing. So one of the things that drawing influenced is my creativity. Obviously drawing, you put a lot of creativity. It's very important. But creativity also helps with a lot of other stuff, especially in school. In language arts, if I have to write an essay, I can usually think of a few metaphors just by painting a picture kind of in my head and pretending that it's something I would draw. And so drawing helped me in that way. It has also helped me be more observant of things, so usually I can see if someone's more upset than most other people just by seeing their face, since, drawing, you look at a lot of details and stuff. And drawing has also just helped less stress in life, It's I don't even have to make it a full fleshed out drawing.
just doodling in a corner of notebook paper, it can usually decrease stress if I have a lot of schoolwork or something. And so basically, for me, drawing has like a lot of benefits, and I think everyone should have like something that kind of helps them be more comfortable in life.
Woo!
Good job.
All right.
Nice. Emily, you
Alright.
want to start? Or
Yeah, I'll just go ahead and start. So, actually, it's a lot of the same feedback, which is I kind of expected because usually, like, because you guys are kind of around the same level, so it's pretty natural that you guys will struggle with some of the same things. One thing that I really liked was that like like specifically your example with language arts, because that's like I'm not I don't draw, but I do like creative writing, so I could really relate to like the whole thing with coming up with metaphors by trying to imagine the scene in your mind. And I didn't realize before that like drawing could I guess play up a factor in that in making you better in that area. The major thing, and I think all of the mentors are thinking this, the use of filler words. So things like, like, and stuff. I can't remember if there were many ums or uhs, but these were the ones that I heard the most. So the thing with filler words is that you can make a really strong statement, like you were telling that language arts story, but then it can kind of get weakened by the filler words because the filler words become either distracting or they just make you sound less confident. And that's something that's going to like eventually, I just used one right there. It's just a natural conversation habit and I totally understand. And it's something that will lessen gradually with experience. But in terms of actively trying to fight against that, my biggest piece of advice or something that helped me with that same problem would be to just replace anytime you want to use a filler word, anytime you feel like you can feel your mouth like about to say it, just don't say anything. Straight up, for no matter how long you feel like you need to like just stop and collect your thoughts and figure out what you're going to say next, just stop talking instead of saying something like and stuff or like or because a lot of beginner speakers get scared of silence. They're like, oh god, I stopped speaking, that means like everyone can tell I don't know what I'm doing. But in reality, the filler words are actually kind of, how do I put this,
Like it seems like you're less confident.
yeah, so silence is actually better than filler words. So I would try to just start trying to replace your filler words with silence. And another thing again is kind of like I said with Jessica, if you try speaking slower, you'll also be able to like think more in advance and it'll also become less of a problem.
Mm-hmm. I'm just gonna add in a pro that I found that I liked is about an anecdote with you using seeing metaphors in a way by drawing it and connecting with language arts. Sorry, I'm used to calling it English now. It's a mix of both an anecdote and a real world example, which is in a way the best of both worlds, because those two are the most efficient way of elaborating a point in your speech. Emily already mentioned about how you all like I said, going back to the club reference, what we would do is we'd have someone count how many times you would say like, and so it gives you an idea of how you can improve by pausing, which is similar to what Emily is saying. And another thing that I liked about your speech is that you kind of use interesting points that are seen in a different light. When you use intriguing points, non-cliche ones, it really gets your audience interested and it shines you in a good light. So that's just something I liked about your speeches. Keep it up.
Can I go next?
Sure.
Okay, so I definitely agree with what Isabel and Emily are saying. Like, even personally in rounds, I've seen it where there was this one kid, his speech wasn't the longest and it wasn't the highest quality, but when he didn't know what to say, he just paused and he didn't say anything. Versus there was another kid, his speech was like better than the other kids, but he constantly used like and like and all that stuff. And the guy who who said nothing actually ranked higher than him. So it actually makes a big difference. Like, it may not seem like it, but like, especially competitively, saying words like and like, they make a big difference. And I also like, I really agreed. Like, I liked your examples of how like you relate it to language arts and all those things, because it kind of helps show that you really are interested in art and that like you really do find it stress relieving, because you talk about all its benefits, and that really helps, you know, give the point that it is your favorite hobby. And not to sound repetitive, but as I said last time, also giving a roadmap of your points, I think it helps, just your points are easier to follow and it gives more of like a structure to your speech. So when you actually do tournaments, you'll have like, you'll walk in this triangle or whatever, and every time you switch points, you'll go to a different point of the triangle. So that was very helpful to me, because I was able to like follow which point I was on. You know, if I'm on the third part of the triangle, then I'm on my third point, and it was just very helpful for me.
Yeah, and we can't really replicate. I totally forgot. You just reminded me of the triangle. Oh my god, I got so many flashbacks. But yeah, we can't. The triangle is like a body language thing, which obviously since we're online is kind of hard to work on. But yeah, including a roadmap is just going to help you, you know, plan out better like where you're going to be, and helps the audience understand where you are as well. All right. Last, Himanshi.
Yeah, sure. Did you know badminton is the fastest racket sport, which is played by about 220 million people around the world? This sport is my favorite hobby because you can release anger, stress, stay active at the same time, and take your mind off of daily stress school may cause. First off, badminton is a sport which requires strength, which is great for emptying anger since you can play harder. Whenever I'm frustrated with anything such as a low grade on an assignment, I try to go out and play badminton and hit as hard as I can. Another reason badminton is my favorite hobby is because I can stay active. If I'm ever worried about eating too much sugar on an occasion such as my birthday, I know I have a hobby that can help burn calories and sugar. After all, being active is an important part of keeping yourself healthy. Finally, we know that school causes stress in some people. I know that I'm really stressed about due dates and doing well in school sometimes. I remember being pressured because of a math assignment last week. I thought I was going to get a bad grade, but I got a decent grade. Since this assignment was a file upload, I played badminton for a little while in between and became a lot more calm afterwards, which allowed me to work without being disturbed by the pressure looming around my head. Whenever this may be the case, playing badminton clears away all my stress and tension. It takes my mind off of pressured things. I know that if I didn't play badminton, then things would be much harder. After all, badminton releases my stress, anger, helps me take my mind off things, all while helping me stay active. I think that this hobby just hit the absolute jackpot.
Wow, that was great. I mean,
I definitely agree.
Let's see. Things that you did well. Here, it's like,
I can go if you need to.
I'm just thinking about like what exactly I want to talk about. I think.
Can I say something? Okay, then you can go.
Okay, so for me, like the big thing that like immediately caught my attention was your like the confidence in your voice. You did really well to pretty much avoid filler words or issues with like speaking, and I think you also had like a lot of inflection in your voice, which was also just more naturally engaging because you sound really excited about badminton. And when you sound excited about whatever you're talking about, the audience is naturally also going to get more excited about whatever you're talking about. So just really good job on that. And I think that's like something that's really great to have as soon as like to develop is that confidence, because it can make pretty much like no matter what you're talking about, it'll make your speech stronger. Things to improve. Let's see. Which one do I wanna? I would say because you're kind of in a similar spot that I was when I was starting out with impromptu speaking, which was, you're able to like lay down a lot of good information and say a lot of good things, but it starts blending together. And what I mean by that is, while you did have transitions between each of your points, the way that you were talking and the content of your points were all pretty similar. So I guess I would try to just have like, because like releasing anger and releasing stress are really similar things, right? So just I would try to come up with like more variation and like think of more different points. And I'm trying to think, like, I don't know how the other mentors feel about this. I feel like even though you didn't have any problems, I still think you could go by speaking a little bit slower.
Yeah. Having
So
those pauses can make it more dramatic effect and pull
Yeah.
them in and be like, what are they gonna say? Suspense. That's the word.
yeah, and I think that also kind of helps break up the whole issue of like it kind of being really similar throughout. If you find a part of your speech that you want to make, that's like you think is the most important part, if you slow down during that specific part, or if you take a pause before you say that really important part, then that'll make it so much stronger, if that makes sense. But also just speaking a little slower overall is going to, I would recommend just to, how do I put this? Make it more impactful.
Can I add on then? If that's all fine?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so one thing I like that I believe you did correctly is you added a roadmap pretty much covering what you're going to describe. And as Emily said, slowing down a little bit and having some pauses can really have the dramatic effect of suspense and what are they going to say next. Something else I also like, by the way, is in the beginning you use a statistic, which when you use a statistic, it shows that you know what you're saying and you have evidence to back it up. Something you can work on, it's not really something you can work on, but just something to keep in mind to really help improve it, is badminton. This is why I don't like sport hobby speech as much. When you say badminton is your favorite hobby, but then use examples that can be applied to all sports, I guess what I'm trying to say is maybe use points that can be specifically for badminton. It sort of has to do with what Emily was saying about it blending together, but having those more specific points that make badminton unique to you is a great way you can improve your speech. So, like, for example, if you had just given me the 3 points, if I was able to tell just badminton, not sports in general, that would have been great. But I guess because it's very vague points or similar points, there was that sort of problem in a way. I hope this makes sense to you. But besides that, I really liked your speech. So good job on that.
Okay, so first, a couple good things. I liked your fun fact. Like, it was very intriguing because it wasn't just some random sentence. Like, you actually gave, like Isabel said, you gave proof that you actually knew what you were talking about, and also what she said. I liked that you gave a roadmap and a transition, and it was very easy to follow your speech. And being able to follow someone's speech, especially for judges, that's very good, because if judges can't follow your speech, they don't fully know what you're talking about. So having that mapping, roadmap and transition was very good. I liked how you gave examples about how burning calories after meals is very good. Like, you gave, even though like some of your points did kind of merge together, I feel like all your examples were different for your points. Even though they were kind of similar points, they were different examples. And also what Emily said, you didn't use fillers. So yeah, that is my feedback for your speech. But I think it was a very good speech overall.
Yeah. Okay. So we're pretty much kind of done with the time. I mean, we should pretty much wrap up at this point. But I guess obviously, like, since it's just the 3 of you guys, we were able to go a lot more in depth into everything and help you guys a lot more specifically. So I hope that you guys enjoyed that and were able to learn from each other, and not just us. And we hope that you guys will come back for our next workshop in 2 weeks, which will be at 5. Sorry for the confusion about the time. It will be at 5 next, the Saturday after next. But I think you guys all did great, and I'd really like to see all of you workshop to keep working and hammering that down. And then for the closing question, just thinking about, and you can type your answer in the chat if you want. So whatever a couple things that you want to improve on, or that you think you could have made your speech more persuasive. So I'll put this back up if you guys want to take a look at it, and you can take a. I'd recommend taking a picture or jotting some notes down, just so you can remember, like what you can improve on. But because at the end of the day, that's what impromptu speaking comes down to, is just constantly improving and doing better than you did last time. Because again, you have so little time to prepare each time. But you guys all did great.
Really good.
Yeah.
I guess we just did the same thing.
Yeah.
But for first, it
Oh, you can't see
incredible.
Am I dumb? Have I not? Can you guys not see the dog?
No, you're streaming.
Oh, I'm dumb.
Oh,
give me 1 second.
Wait, you were.
There you go.
Oh, you did. Oh.
I was streaming the slide the whole time. Yeah. I'm an idiot.
I thought you knew you were doing it on purpose.
No, I'm just dumb, and I was streaming Google.
You're fine. Don't worry about it.
Streaming that tab instead of the whole screen. My bad. So yeah, and not only learning from necessarily like what you did well and your improving parts, but the other two as well, and you're learning from each other.
Emily, can you?
Do you want me to zoom in? And then I can't show all of them at once. Then.
I thought there is an option where you can put like two side by side, maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe try copy and pasting them into the chat.
What if I just copy paste them like into the chat? Is that okay with you guys?
That's what I just. Yeah.
Or I can copy paste into a slide. But that it might be still too much. Okay, yeah, and then insert text box. Yeah, I still can't really put all 3 of you on here at once. So here, I'll leave Jessica and Lila's up on the screen, and then Himanshi, I'll just message you yours so you have it. There you go. But yeah, I hope you guys were able to learn a lot from this, and we'll see you guys at our next workshop. But that's pretty much all we have for you guys today. Thank you guys.
Great job. It was nice listening to you guys speak. Oh, thanks for your patience. This is my first mentor teaching. I hope I explained everything good. So
the organization was a little janky, but thank you guys for coming out.
Thank you.